NFL Week 13 is almost here. There's 3 marquee matchups I would like to highlight. Browns versus Titans, battle of the 8-3 teams. Cardinals versus Rams, NFC West showdown. Who's going to come out on top? NFC South divisional matchup. Falcons versus Saints. Will Taysom Hill beat the Falcons for the second time in 2 weeks? In the Premier League, 2 matches I want to highlight, predict. Tottenham versus Arsenal, North London Derby. Liverpool versus Wolves. Will Liverpool keep up their unbeaten streak at home? How will Wolves fare without Raul Jimenez? This is Hard to Handle Sports, episode number 19. My name's Ismael San Juan. Let's get started. In the NFL Week 13 kicks off this Sunday. We have 3 marquee matchups that I want to highlight. Browns versus Titans being the first one. Browns versus Titans. Browns and Titans both come in at 8-3. The Browns have won 4 out of 5. Titans have won 3 out of 4. Browns, in those 4 games, in those last 5 games that they've played, they've won 4. A lot of those games have been in ugly conditions. They've been in Cleveland. They've been in Ohio. They've been in rough conditions. I know a couple of other games have been delayed because of the weather. So if you look at the Browns, that kind of favors them because they are a running team. So Mayfield hasn't done so much in these last few weeks. He hasn't been asked to do that much. Honestly, he could have done more, in my opinion, during these wins. And that's one of the main reasons people are not believing the Browns. But they do come into this week winning 4 out of 5 games. The Titans, on the other hand, have won 3 out of 4. They just beat the Colts. They reclaimed the top of the AFC South. And they're looking pretty good. They're running Derrick Henry again. He looks like a monster. Derrick Henry is one of those running backs that gets stronger as the season goes on. He's a monster. He's built like a truck. He's built like a linebacker. He could run. He could gash you for the big play. He could wear you down. He's a monster. That's all you need to know. The Titans are 6-point favorites. By Vegas, 6-point favorites are the Titans. I think that's fair. The Titans have more impressive wins this season. They've beaten the Colts. They've beaten the Bills. They almost came back against the Steelers, and the Steelers beat the Browns, destroyed them. The Browns haven't really beaten anybody. The only team they've beaten is the Colts. Other than that, all their teams that they've played have losing record. So we're gonna find out if the Browns are for reals. This is one of their tougher matchups this year. And after the Titans, honestly, they don't have that hard of a schedule. But this game is gonna feature the 2 best rushing attacks in the NFL. Number 1 and number 2. Number 1 being the Browns, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, 2 elite running backs. That's an elite one too. The only reason this is possible is because Hunt had some off-the-field issues that I'm sure most of you guys know. He had some off-the-field issues. He got cut by the Chiefs, and the Browns were able to get him off the streets relatively cheap. And honestly, he could be a starter in a lot of NFL teams. Nick Chubb, he's top 5 running back in the league. He's kind of underrated. I feel like people know about Kamara, people know about Henry, people know about Cook, people know about all these Elliott. Nick Chubb is a monster. He's a beast. And no one needs to mention Derrick Henry. He might be the best running back in the NFL today. He is a beast. He's a monster. He will run over you. He will outrun you. He will stiff arm you to the ground, just as Josh Norman. So number 1 rushing offense against the number 2 rushing offense is going to be an old-fashioned battle. It's going to be one in the trenches. Whoever is able to establish that run the most should be able to dictate the outcome of this game. The Browns will be without their number 1 cornerback, Denzel Ward. This is the second week he misses. I think that's going to hurt the Browns a lot just because the Titans do like to set up the play action. Once they get Henry going, they like to get the play action. They have Juno Smith as their tight end. They have A.J. Brown. They could hurt you through the passing game. A.J. Brown has a touchdown in each of the last 2 games. He's building momentum. He had a little slump in the middle of the season, but now he's picking back up. Namely, Tannehill had a little slump too, but now he's picking back up too. And now that Tannehill's playing good again, you see the Titans are able to turn their game around, winning 4 out of their last 5. Winning 3 out of the last 4. So I think the Titans will be able to attack the Browns through the passing game, especially with Denzel Ward being out. Denzel Ward is a pretty good cornerback. He's a younger cornerback. The Browns will definitely miss him. On the other side of the field, will the Browns be able to expose the Titans' horrible pass defense? The Titans do have the 28th ranked pass defense. They've been atrocious through the pass. They kind of kickstarted Rivers this season a little bit. 2 weeks ago, people were on the fence about Rivers, and then he had a 300-yard game, 3-touchdown game against them, and then people were like, okay, you know what? Maybe Rivers isn't so bad after all. And then he played pretty good against the Packers, and they were like, all right. And then they were able to contain him pretty good last week in their second matchup against Rivers. So maybe the Titans' pass defense is turning around, kind of like the Seahawks' defense is kind of turning around. The Titans haven't made that big of a leap yet, but they might be turning it around. But they're still ranked 28th as their pass defense. Fortunately for them, the Browns have the 30th ranked passing offense. They do have the number 1 rushing offense, but they do have the 30th pass offense. A lot of that has to do with Baker Mayfield. A lot of that has to do with OBJ being out. A lot of that has to do with the terrible conditions that the Browns have been playing the last few weeks. So it hasn't been ideal conditions to throw the ball. The weather has dictated a running approach, and they've been up. They've been winning games. So if it's been working, like, why would you put the extra pressure on Baker Mayfield, especially when we know that he's susceptible to throwing a pick or two if you allow him to throw the ball 25 plus times. So that may have something to do with it. Will the Browns be able to expose the Titans' 28th pass defense, 28th ranked pass defense? I don't think so. I think Baker Mayfield is kind of limited. He's not terrible. He's not horrible. I'm not one of those people that think Baker Mayfield is horrible. I don't think he's terrible. I think he's a decent quality starting quarterback. As far as the Browns are concerned, he's their savior just because I don't think I have to remind anyone the long list of quarterbacks that the Browns have had over the last 20 years since they've been back in Cleveland. No one needs that reminder. We all know the terrible quarterbacks they've gone through. So for them to have Baker Mayfield, it's better than everything else they've had. And he's pretty good. He's decent. He could have his games. He had that almost perfect game after starting with the interception versus the Bengals. So we know he has a pretty high ceiling when he's on, but his average, his medium is pretty above average. Let's just call it above average. Don't want to say mediocre because he's not mediocre. He's better than mediocre, but he's above average. So, like I said, the Browns have only beaten one winning team this season. It's the Colts. And I just feel like I trust Tannehill more than Baker Mayfield. Even with Myles Garrett coming back, he is expected to play this game. He was dealing with COVID. He said COVID had kicked his ass. He said he had body chills and he had like a fever and he had a lot of stuff. So it's good for the Browns to have Myles Garrett back. One of the premier pass rushers in the NFL. It's definitely going to add pressure to Tannehill. But I trust Derrick Henry more than the combination of Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. And I trust Tannehill more than I trust Baker Mayfield. So for that reason, I have the Titans winning 28-19. 28-19 is my prediction. Titans 28, Browns 19. Book it. So that's the first game for this week. The second game that I wanted to highlight or predict, Rams play the Cardinals. The Rams come in at 7-4. They're the 5th seed in the NFC, and the Cardinals come in at 6-5, and they're their 7th seed. So both teams come in with the playoffs, with the wild card spot. It doesn't look like either of them. Maybe the Rams, but they blew their chance last week. Doesn't look like they're going to be able to catch up to the Seahawks. The Seahawks have the way easier schedule remaining. So maybe the Rams. The Cardinals blew it. They've lost 2 in a row. They were tied. The Cardinals at one point were first. Seems like a long time ago that the Cardinals were first place in the division. But not too long ago, on Thursday Night Football, the Cardinals did come in as the number 1 seed in the NFC West, and now they're the 7th seed. But the marquee matchup within this game is Jalen Ramsey versus DeAndre Hopkins. For me, Jalen Ramsey is the best cornerback in the league, ahead of like Darius Slay or who's the Patriots cornerback. I'm blanking out on his name right now, but you know who he is. Jalen Ramsey, for me, pound for pound, he's the number 1 cornerback in the league. And DeAndre Hopkins, he's up there. He's probably my second wide receiver in the league right now. But however you rank them, it's a marquee matchup. Jalen Ramsey versus DeAndre Hopkins. I think that's going to have a lot to do with the game too. We all know Kyler Murray loves DeAndre Hopkins. He's a targets galore since he's been in Arizona. It's not surprising for DeAndre Hopkins to have 10 plus targets in a game, 100 plus yards. Kyler Murray is always looking for him. So if Jalen Ramsey is able to shut him down, that will be a huge benefit to the Rams. But Ramsey did have a hip problem last week against the 49ers. On Friday, he said that his hip was fine, that he was going to be good to go. So, but every player that has an injury is always saying that to the media when they're asked about it. No one really says, oh, you know what? I do feel like I'm not completely healthy, especially when they're about to play an elite opponent like DeAndre Hopkins. Jalen Ramsey was not going to go tell the media, you know what, my hip is still kind of bothering me. If DeAndre Hopkins makes a lot of turns, it might flare up. He was not going to say that, so we'll see if he's telling the truth or not on Sunday. We'll be able to tell by his movements. Another interesting matchup for this game is Aaron Donald against Kyler Murray. Will Aaron Donald be able to pressure down the middle or on the edge, because they use him a lot of different ways in the line? Will Aaron Donald and company be able to get pressure on Kyler Murray? Kyler Murray has been nursing a shoulder injury the last few weeks. I think that's kind of has made him hesitant to run the ball, in my opinion. He says his shoulder is fine, but if you see, since he injured his shoulder coming into that Seahawks game and to now, he has been hesitant to run. And I think it's because of the shoulder. He doesn't want to hurt it. He doesn't want to fall on it or something. He doesn't want to get hit. And it's hurt his game. He's not the same quarterback when he doesn't have that running threat. So for that reason, if Aaron Donald is able to keep him inside the pocket, put pressure down the middle, that might really throw Kyler Murray off his game. But the matchup of the quarterbacks, Kyler Murray against Jared Goff, I think Murray is head and shoulders above Goff. Even though he's just in his second year, he was Rookie of the Year. And Goff did just sign his big extension. He's tied with the Rams long term. He has that security. He's going to be the Rams quarterback going forward. But I do think Murray is the better quarterback. Just the flashes. I don't think Goff has ever been an MVP candidate. Even in his best season, even in his Super Bowl season, you could kind of attach his success to McVay, to all the weapons he had. He had Cook, he had Woods, he had Cooper Kupp. He had a lot of weapons. He had Gurley. No one ever really thought, oh man, Goff, this is Goff, putting the team on his back. This is Goff just being an elite quarterback. He's bringing the team to the Super Bowl. Everyone knew McVay's a great coach. McVay's one of the young offensive minds in the game. He's drawing up all these schemes. He's scheming wide receivers wide open. And Murray, for the 2 years that he's been there, he didn't have nobody last year. He still won Rookie of the Year. He had aging Fitzgerald. Now he has Hopkins. He has more help. The jury's still out on his coach, if he's going to be successful in the NFL, or if he was just a good coach in college. Because even in college, he didn't have the best of records. And now we're going to see if he's good in the NFL. So I think Murray is head and shoulders above Goff. I did read that Keyshawn Johnson said that Goff is a better QB. I strongly disagree with him. I know Keyshawn Johnson played in the NFL. He was a pretty good wide receiver. He had some good seasons. So maybe his knowledge is better than mine, just a regular old folk that loves football. But I know a lot of people disagree with Keyshawn Johnson and even NFL or former NFL players. in my opinion, if I had to make comparisons, I think Goff is like Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins played with Shanahan in Washington, and that made him look good. He earned a good contract with the Vikings. He's played pretty good. His stats don't look bad, but we all know Kirk Cousins has limitations. He's not going to be a quarterback that takes you to the promised land. He needs good pieces. He needs a Thielen. He needs a Diggs. Now he has a Jefferson. He has Rudolph. He has Cook. He has a lot of pieces around him, and he still sometimes makes mistakes that you're like, okay, what are you doing? Like, just keep it together. Don't mess this up. And I think that's what Goff is. Not a bad quarterback by any means. Kirk Cousins, he had the highest guaranteed at the time when he signed. So there's nothing wrong with Kirk Cousins. He could get you to the playoffs. He's a decent quarterback. He's not an elite quarterback. You're never going to say Kirk Cousins is a top 5 quarterback. But he's always going to be flirting with top 10. And if you have him, you're not doing that bad. And other teams do look at Kirk Cousins as an improvement. Like if you're the 49ers, I know Shanahan has been rumored to been wanting Kirk Cousins back on his team. So not a bad option. I think that's what Goff is. He's like a Kirk Cousins type of player. Murray has that Russell Wilson potential. And like not just potential, he's there right now. He's a quality quarterback. He has elite potential, and he's playing elite, or he has shown elite flashes this season too. Just because of that, I think Murray is the better quarterback. And NFL.com has Murray ranked as the 5th quarterback so far this season. They have Goff as the 18th. CBS Sports has Murray as the 9th ranked quarterback, and they have Goff as the 19th. NBC Sports has Murray 9th, Goff 18th. So there's a lot to back up the claim that Murray is a better quarterback than Goff. And because of that, I do think the Cardinals will come out with the victory. The Cardinals have lost 2 in a row. I think they will show urgency. They will come out firing. They've started slow their last couple games, but I think they're going to start fast against the Rams, and they will beat them, and they will pass them up in the rankings momentarily because they do got to play again. This NFC West is going to be a battle. There's still a lot of divisional games left in that division. So by no means is this the final standings. The Cardinals do play the Rams, I believe, 2 weeks after today. So we'll see how they do then. I'm probably going to do another prediction video 2 weeks from now, seeing how they're doing. And I might predict the Rams in that game. You never know. But Cardinals do play at home. So I think the Cardinals are going to win in week 13. I say they beat the Rams. It's going to be a high-scoring game, 33-28. Cardinals win. And moving along, the third game that I wanted to highlight for this upcoming Week 13 matchup, Falcons versus Saints. Falcons come in at 4-7. Playoff chances pretty much done. They've shown flashes the last couple of weeks since they fired their coach. And the Saints come in as the number 1 seed. They're 9-2. The Taysom Hill experiment is going so far so good as in terms of record. They're 2-0 with Taysom Hill as the starting quarterback. But this is my hot take for this week. I have the Falcons upsetting the Saints. You heard it here. Hard to handle sports. The Falcons will upset the Saints, in my opinion. The Falcons just upset the Raiders 43-6. They're 4-2 with Raheem Morris as their coach. And this is the second game they play the Saints in as many weeks. So because of that, I think the Falcons will upset the Saints. Taysom Hill is not a quality quarterback. All the props in the world to Sean Payton. He's an elite coach. He's a great offensive mind. He's going to go down as one of the best offensive coaches ever. And just the fact that he's 2-0 with Taysom Hill this year, and he was 5-0 with Teddy Bridgewater last year as his backup, as their starting quarterback with Drew Brees out, that shows what a great coach he is. That shows, he has a great coaching staff, and he's able to get his players ready. But Taysom Hill he's not a starting quarterback. The eye test doesn't lie. Even when he beat the Falcons 2 weeks ago, we all saw those throws. We saw how badly he underthrew Sanders on that 50-yard go route down the middle. He had to wait for the ball. Let's not kid ourselves, you guys. We could see Taysom Hill. He's a great story. The way he went undrafted, wide receiver, quarterback turned wide receiver, turned gadget player, special teamers, tight end, running back, wide receiver. He's out there blocking punts for touchdowns. He's out there catching passes for touchdown. He's out there throwing passes for touchdown. He's out there running for touchdown. He's a great guy. He's a football player. That's the definition of a football player. Taysom Hill is the definition of a football player. I think every coach would want to have him on a team, but even just seeing him run gadget plays when he's throwing the ball, you could tell that he's not a quarterback. I've seen other wide receivers get put in that situation and throw the ball with the better spiral. The throw just looks better. OBJ, I can remember, I think against the Cowboys this year, he threw a pass. That pass has looked better than the gadget plays that Taysom Hill has done with the Saints. Like, that ball looked crispier off of OBJ's hand. And I've seen other wide receivers do plays like that where they do end arounds and then they throw it. And the ball looks cleaner coming out of their hand than Taysom Hill when he was running his gadget plays too. He would either like throw it too low, or he would leave yards on the field because the wide receiver would have to go to the ground or lose his momentum catching the ball instead of just being able to catch the ball and keep running and get yards after the catch. And now during these two games that he started, the Falcons, they beat the Falcons pretty bad, but I was not really impressed by that. His running game, no one could deny his running game. He's a tough runner. You put him under center and you use a running back as a blocker, or you just have an extra blocker in your line, and you're going to do good because he runs hard. He's pretty quick. But as a passer, he has a lot to be desired. And now he plays the Falcons twice in 2 weeks, for the second time in 2 weeks. They have film on him. They've played him already. I think they're going to play in Atlanta. So I think it's going to be bad for the Saints. I think it's going to be bad for Taysom Hill. I don't think they're going to be able to score as many points this time. And last week he struggled against the Broncos. I know they blew the Broncos out and they didn't have to like put him under center too many times so he could throw the game away. But he had 44 yards rushing, 78 yards passing. If he's a starting level quarterback, I don't care if the other team doesn't have a quarterback, is playing a practice squad player off for the first with no practice as their starting quarterback, you're going to have a better game than 44 yards rushing and 78 yards passing. It was an atrocious game. Both teams looked like they didn't have a quarterback. And I think Matt Ryan has something to prove. Matt Ryan is a former MVP. He is the definition, one of the last few quarterbacks that is a pocket quarterback that is not really that mobile, and his arm is his strength. So Matt Ryan, I feel like he's gonna have a point to prove. He's not gonna get outdueled by Taysom Hill playing quarterback, a tight end playing quarterback, a gadget player playing quarterback. Matt Ryan, the former MVP, has to show up tomorrow. He has to stand up for himself, for his last name. Ryan, you better show up Sunday. You better show up. You better not let me down. You're a former MVP. You can't let a tight end beat you 2 times in 2 weeks. And good things for him. Julio Jones practiced on Friday. He missed his game. He missed the game last week. So hopefully for the Falcons, he's back. Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, they should be able to get the job done. Kamara hasn't been playing the last 2 weeks as much. He's played less than 50% of the snaps. He has a foot injury, but he's been playing with it, but they have been cutting his snaps. So we'll see how he does, how he fares. If they use him more, if the Falcons take a lead, or if the Saints are down, will they play him more? We're going to find out. But I do have Matt Ryan balling out, upsetting the Saints, and the Saints lose their number 1 spot in the NFC. I have the Falcons upsetting the Saints 30-21. 30-21. Those are my predictions for these 3 marquee matchups for Week 13 of the NFL season. Now to the Premier League. EPL Match Day 11 is here. The time of this recording, it's Friday night, Saturday morning. So the games are a couple hours of starting. But the only 2 games that I wanted to highlight or predict for this week were 2 Sunday games. So Liverpool versus Wolves and the North London Derby, Arsenal versus Tottenham, are the 2 matchups that really interest me this week. first, let's get started with the Liverpool versus Wolves. Liverpool come in tied for first. They're second because of goal differential, so they're right behind Tottenham. Wolves come in at 7th. Just want to say that I'm very happy that the fans are allowed back. England, I guess they're doing a little bit better in COVID. Certain regions that are doing better, they're opening by regions. So I think if you're like in the lower tiers of COVID, you're allowed to have 2,000 fans in your stadium. So Liverpool, I guess they are doing a little bit better in Liverpool. So they will have 2,000 fans in their stands. So good for Liverpool fans. This is the first time in 30 years that fans will be present at Anfield watching their team as champions. So shout out to those fans, those lucky fans that are able to be there. This is the first time they'll see them since they won the championship a couple months back, because the last game that they were able to see was during March. And they'll be able to see this team that has gone 64 games unbeaten, is the second longest streak in English football. And they hope to continue it against the Wolves. I am a Wolves fan, so I'm rooting for the Wolves. So here are some reasons why the Wolves might beat Liverpool. Liverpool have only won 2 out of their last 5 games in all competitions, so they're not exactly in the best form. So Wolves might be able to pounce on that. Only 2 out of their last 5 games. It's not like Liverpool to do that, especially after the season they had last year where they were just going on crazy win streaks. So 2 out of 5 might be my point towards Wolves winning this game. Also, Liverpool has key injuries at every level of their field. Alisson is going to be out. Van Dijk, we all know he's out. Thiago's out. Joe Gomez is out. Trent Arnold-Alexander is still probably going to be out. James Milner probably out. And Shaqiri and Neita probably all out. So because of that, Liverpool will be without a lot, like almost 11 first team players will not be available for Liverpool. That's another reason why Wolves might be able to beat Liverpool and end that streak of 64 games unbeaten. Also, Wolves last year, they were able to beat the champions away from home. So Wolves beat City 2-0 in Manchester last year. Can they do it again this year? Can they go to Anfield and end the streak, beat Liverpool? And Wolves are coming off a big win against Arsenal. Wolves are known in their time back in the Premier League. They've fared pretty well against the Big Six, the typical Big Six in the Premier League. Those are 4 reasons why the Wolves have the potential to upset Liverpool at Anfield, end the streak, at least maybe get a draw, get a tie. But, this is very important, but Wolves have lost 7 straight league games to Liverpool, so they have not fared at all against Liverpool. They have not fared well against Liverpool. 7 straight losses in league. Raul Jimenez had that horrific injury. Best of wishes to Raul Jimenez. I hope we see you back on the field soon. But he is the Wolves' most important player, and they will be without him in this pivotal matchup against Liverpool. So will they be able to get goals? Will they be able to get that link-up play that Raul Jimenez brings to the Wolves? And his replacement, Fabio Silva. He's young. He's 18 years old. Club transfer fee this summer. Broke the club transfer fee this summer. But again, like I said, he's 18 years old. He doesn't have that much first-team experience. He's coming from Porto. He's a big step up to the Premier League. He hasn't even gotten that many minutes. So he's a pup. He's a pup. Let's just call it what it is. He's a rookie. He's young. He's young. He has a lot of potential, but he's not ripe. He's green. So we'll see if he's able to show. I wish him the best. I do think he's gonna have a good performance. Just from what I saw last week against Arsenal, he looks confident. He looks confident with the ball in his foot. He doesn't look phased by the moment. The moment doesn't look too big, and Liverpool is only gonna have 2,000 fans, so they're not gonna be able to rile him too much. It's gonna be a nice environment for him. So we'll see how he plays. But Diego Jota, first time playing against the Wolves since his transfer to Liverpool. He just turned 24 years old yesterday. Happy birthday, Diego Jota, if you're listening to this. I don't know why you would be listening to this, but Happy birthday to you, Diego Jota. And my prediction, I think the Wolves don't have enough to beat Liverpool. As much as I'm a Wolves fan, as much as I would like to say that the Wolves will upset Liverpool at Anfield, I don't see it happening, especially without Raul Jimenez. I could see them maybe getting a draw just because Raul Neto has been playing great. He stepped up. He already matched his goal total from last season. At just 20 years old, he's taking that leap. Adama Traoré, if Wolves play a back four and they could play Podence, Traoré, and Neto with Silva on the top, that's going to be great. I have a feeling they're going to go back to a back five just because they're playing Liverpool and they're going to want to have more defenders. But in my opinion, I think the back four will work the best. I love seeing all three of those players play together last week. Podence, Traoré, and Neto. I think that's a good play. That's a good play for the Wolves. They're very dangerous if they have all three players. They have pretty good pace. Podence, I think, is the slowest one of the three, but he's very skilled. He's quick. He's shifty. He's smart with the ball on his foot. Adama Traoré needs no introduction. He's might be the fastest player in the EPL. Neto's one up there too. He's quick, but I don't think it's gonna be enough. Salah, Mane, Firmino, Jota. I wouldn't be surprised if Jota actually gets a score, and I don't think he'll celebrate. I think he still follows Wolves players. He still comments. He wished Raul Jimenez to get well. I think he has a good relationship with Wolves players. So I want to predict Jota is going to score a goal, and I want to predict that he's not going to celebrate. He's going to show respect for the Wolves. But I do have Liverpool winning 2-0 tomorrow, and it pains me to say that because I'm a Wolves fan. But 2-0, the Wolves. Well, I feel like the Wolves are going to play a back five, and they're going to sit back too much. But hopefully, Wolves are able to put up a great performance, and they sneak out a tie, maybe like a 1-1. But my gut is telling me 2-0 loss. But the Wolves play with a lot of heart, and they have their chances too. But Alisson is not playing, so we'll see if the Liverpool has some mistakes back in the back with their keeper, then that could open some chances for the Wolves. But as of now, I say Wolves lose 2-0 at Anfield Sunday. Arsenal versus Tottenham is the last game that I want to predict. North London Derby. Tottenham has not lost in the Premier League since opening day, so they've gone 9 games unbeaten. Mourinho has that team playing great, playing amazing. He has changed the mentality of that team. He has changed their personality, like he said last week after the game in his press conference. He has just shifted the way that team thinks, that way that team plays. And Harry Kane and Son have been spectacular this season. And because of that, I just don't see Arsenal turning their season around. I have Arsenal losing to Tottenham 3-1. Tottenham gets a resounding 3-1 victory. They stay top of the league. And yeah, just Arteta, he's not on the hot seat. The board has backed Arteta. He's their long-term coach in the opinion of Arsenal. So I don't think this will be a crushing defeat for him. It will just keep adding to the worst start as Arsenal have had. It was the worst start after 10 games. They're going to lose. I feel like they're going to lose this week. It's going to be the worst start after 11 games. And, teams, Europa League games, they both played over in the middle of the week. Tottenham struggled a little bit, 3-3 against Lask. And Arsenal beat Rapid Vienna 4-1 in Europa League. They played at Arsenal, and they had fans for the first time, so maybe that helped them out a little bit. I know Lacazette was able to get on the scoring sheet, and he's been struggling to score. So maybe Arsenal is turning it around. 4-1 victory, pretty impressive victory in the middle of the week. But as far as the Premier League, they've only scored 10 goals in 10 games. So they're really struggling to find the back of the net. Aubameyang has 1 goal in 10 games. They gave him that big contract in the offseason for him to stay, 2-year extension. And he's not the player. He's not the player that he was last season. He's not the player he's been at Dortmund or Arsenal since he's been at Arsenal. But that's a marquee matchup that we have. Harry Kane against Aubameyang, 2 of the best number 9s in the Premier League, 2 of the best forwards in the Premier League. Any other time, they would probably be competing for the top scorers in the league, but Aubameyang is struggling this season. On the other hand, Harry Kane comes in on fire. 13 goals in 16 games in all competition. He's also the assist leader in the Premier League, so he's having a heck of a season. He is in doubt for this game, so if Harry Kane doesn't play, if he doesn't start, maybe they hold on to him and he comes in the 70th, 60th minute around that time. I could see that happening. If that happens, then it opens the possibility for Arsenal to get a point or maybe sneak out a victory. But I do think, I was reading some reports, they do expect Harry Kane to be fit enough to start at least, or to at least play. So Harry Kane and Son, that's just too much firepower for Arsenal. Arsenal do have a leaky defense. I don't trust their defense. They let Rapid Vienna just score 1, so they looked a little better in the week, but Tottenham is no Rapid Vienna. They have way better quality players. And Lloris is in doubt, so that also might help Arsenal. If Lloris doesn't play and Kane doesn't play, then we could talk about Arsenal possibly upsetting or at least getting a point. If we have Hart at goal, Joe Hart is definitely susceptible to making a mistake, then I could at least ponder with the idea that Arsenal would be able to get a point or maybe steal a victory. But they're playing at White Hart Lane, or the new stadium that they have, the new Tottenham Stadium. They will have 2,000 fans. They're coming in as the top of the table. I know those fans are going to be riled up. There's only going to be 2,000, but I know they're going to be loud. So because of that, Tottenham coming in as first place, they're going to have fans in their stadium for the first time. They have the newest stadium in the Premier League. I do believe Harry Kane's going to play. Hopefully Lloris plays. And Tottenham 3-1 is my prediction. I think Tottenham, even though they come in as first place, they like to sit back. They like to invite the other teams. So I do think Tottenham is going to concede possession to Arsenal. This is going to invite them back. And I don't think Arsenal they're not that clean with the ball on their foot. I do feel like they're going to make mistakes. And then when they do make those mistakes, those inevitable mistakes that they've been making this season, because they're not there yet, Arteta's going to implement that system. He does come from Pep Guardiola's system. He was his number 2 for 3 years. So he's trying to implement that passing the ball, always moving the ball from the defense to the offense, never jumping lanes, passing the ball. I think that's going to take some time. Maybe he doesn't have the players yet to implement that system. He'll get there. I do still believe in Arteta. I don't want to give up on him. I don't think it was a fluke that he won the FA Cup. I don't think it was a fluke that he won the Community Shield. I don't think it was a fluke that he beat Liverpool last year. I do still believe him. I don't know if he has the players to implement that system just yet. He needs more technical players for him to get all that passing game going. So I do think Tottenham is going to concede possession to Arsenal. Arsenal won't be able to break down Tottenham's defense. Not right now. Not in the form they're in right now. Not with Aubameyang struggling. Not with Lacazette also struggling in the league. And then Tottenham's going to make Arsenal pay for those mistakes. They're going to get them in the counterattack. And they're going to make them pay. So Son and Kane, I could see both of them getting on the scoring sheet. They've been on fire. They're the best duo in the league right now. And 3-1 Spurs victory is my prediction. So yeah, there you go. Those are my predictions for this weekend of Premier League and NFL action. One more time, I have the Titans beating the Browns. I have the Cardinals beating the Rams. And my upset of the week is the Falcons will beat the Saints. I don't think Taysom Hill has it in him to beat the Falcons twice in 2 weeks. And the two marquee matchups in the Premier League, Liverpool 2, Wolves 0 is my prediction. Pains me to say that as a Wolf fan, but no Raul Jimenez. And I expect the back five for the Wolves from the Wolves. And Tottenham 3, Arsenal 1 are my predictions. But yeah, that should conclude this episode of the Hard to Handle Sports podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Tune in for episode 20 where I'll be reviewing if I hit on any of these games. Hopefully I did. I think they're sound predictions. I don't think any of them are too far-fetched. Other than maybe the Falcons game. I know Saint fans out there won't want to hear that, but that's my prediction. I don't believe in Taysom Hill, and it is what it is. But thank you so much for listening. Until next time, have a good night, morning, day, whenever you're listening to this. Ish signing out.